What's up, YouTube? This is Lowside P&W on a big sweeping turn here. Today, I'm going to show you how to install the upper crash bars on a Tiger 900. It's not a particularly difficult job. With a little elbow grease, just an ounce of gumption, and a little good old-fashioned chutzpah, you can do it by yourself. That being said, if you have somebody that can help you, it would make it a lot easier. I did it by myself without an extra set of hands, and I'll show you a little trick that I used to do it. But having your little brother, or your little sister, or your grandma, or anybody would really help out a lot. You know, another little tip I might give you is don't do it on the hottest day of the year. It's 97 degrees outside right now, which means inside the shop, it was about 110.
Okay, so first thing you're going to need is some Triumph approved cardboard to set your parts on. If you don't have any, the box that the upper engine crash bars came in will work fine. Next, you're going to need a set of upper engine bars, like these two right here. I recommend using the other parts they send you too, like the nuts and bolts and mounting bracket. Also these two little doohickeys here. You're going to want those. Now, the tools you'll need are a socket set with an 8mm and a 12mm socket and a set of Allen wrenches. The instructions say to remove this front beak, which is held on by these 4 screws here. It's pretty easy to take off. I did it just for the purpose of filming this video, just to make it easy to see what was going on. But I'm not entirely certain it was necessary, and you may not want to. If your Tiger is equipped with fog lights like mine is, you'll need to relocate those onto the crash bars using a fog light relocation kit. Mine's on back order, so that's going to come in a future video. Today we're just taking them off. First thing you need to do here is unhook these 2 wires. They're held together with a quick connect style connector, and I'm just using a flathead screwdriver to disengage the pin. And just get your fat, greasy meat hooks in there and give it a little tug. Voila! Next thing we need to do is disconnect the horn. The way it's wired up, the wire wraps around the bracket that's holding the fog lights on, so I'm going to have to unhook that. 3 bolts is all that holds this on. This is the 12mm socket. Just go ahead and get that on there and crack it open. Oh, yeah, there you go. Now, at any time, feel free to just let parts fall directly off the motorcycle and hit the ground. That's totally fine. Now I'm looking at this part wondering if I even needed to take that off, and the answer is yes, you do, because the bolt that passes through it needs to be removed. This little doohickey holds the horn, and I think that's a temperature sensor probe. I don't know. If you know, let me know in the comments. Now we're going to loosen these 2 nuts here on these bolts behind the headlight there. Now you don't have to take both of these bolts all the way out. The way the bracket is designed that we're adding on here only travels up one side of the frame there. So just take the bottom bolt out, leave the top one in, just kind of loosen it up and pull it back a little. Now go ahead and fit the bracket in. You can see you just snap it into place there. That top bolt, because you didn't take it all the way out, you can just kind of slide it through. The bottom bolt, go ahead and put back in. Once through, you can put the nut back on. I just finger tightened these up at this point. What I did find out later was it was fine to go ahead and snug them all the way up, but I left them loose just in case. Time to put the horn and mysterious probe bracket back on. I'm just pulling the wires for the horn down through the center hole there and getting that lined up. The 2 wires for the fog lights I've just tucked back behind this bracket here. They're real easy to get to. When the fog light relocation kit comes in, I'll be able to pull those wires down and wire everything back up pretty easily. If for some reason you aren't putting fog lights back on, I would probably tape those connectors up just to keep them nice and dry and keep them from corroding. Time to put the honky back on. Just line that up, place the bolt back in, tighten it up. Return the 2 wires back onto the horn. This is another quick style connector here. They just snap into place. And Bob is your uncle. Give it a test. Yep, working good. And like I said, now I'm snugging these bolts up here. I could have done that earlier, but I didn't, so doing it now. Now here's kind of the trick I was talking about earlier. I didn't have an extra set of hands to help me hold this, so what I did was I just placed a zip tie through the post where the bolt is going to go, just to hold that up in the air for me. You could do that with a bungee cord or anything else, but the zip tie worked pretty slick. And now I'm free to go ahead and fit on the lower bracket. Now I just get the first one started just slightly. You'll see why here, because the second one I'm going to go ahead and squirt a little blue Loctite on. Get that snugged up. It's kind of tricky to reach your hands in and around these bars while you're working. It's not too bad though. Now I go back to that first bolt, since the other one's in, hit that with a little bit of Loctite, and go ahead and fit that back in there. Now just hand tighten these, leave them loose. You don't want to snug them up just yet because you're going to need room to maneuver. So now I'm going to go ahead and prep a second zip tie here. Get that one kind of ready and cut the old one off. Now that lower bracket is holding the engine bar on, so it's acting as my third set of hands there. And now just doing the exact same thing for the other side. I'm going to place that zip tie through both of the engine bars here. Zip tie it together, snug it up, and that should hold it nicely. Now I'm back on the other side, repeating the exact same process, just getting one started here. Little Loctite. And after you get those two bolts started, that leaves you free to go back to the subframe connection here, where you want to start that first bolt. That's why I took the zip tie out of that side and replaced it with the other, was just to be able to get that bolt in there. Now this was frustrating. It took me about 5 minutes of fiddling around. Once I finally got it in there, you can hear a little whoop of relief. And once you get that first one in, the second one is a piece of cake. You're home free at this point. Just go ahead and line it up and snug it on in. Now, returning back to the lower mount, just go ahead and tighten those up, which is just a piece of cake when you know what you're doing. Nice and snug. Now you'll see that it's kind of hard to get a full turn on these, so you have to get a little creative. Takes a little patience. Gotta just take your time, or have better tools than me is your other option. Now it's time to give Big Bird his beak back. Go ahead and just line that up and fit it back on. Stay. And go ahead and return the 4 bolts that hold that in place. You can hear the ambulance is well on its way to picking me up as I'm about to die from heat stroke. Added bonus, the newly installed crash bar is now directly in the way of tightening up the top 2 bolts. And there you have it. You've successfully installed the upper engine bars on your Tiger 900. Looks pretty good too. At the time of this recording, the fog light relocation kit is on a 5 to 6 week back order. As soon as I get those in, I will put the fog lights back on and make a how-to video on how that's done. So if you're watching this in the future, I'll add a link right now and in the description to that video.
So that about wraps it up. That's how you install the upper engine bars on a Triumph Tiger 900. Notice I did say engine bars, not crash bars. Triumph doesn't call them crash bars because they're not for crashing, okay? Triumphs don't crash. They're for when you gently lay your motorcycle down in a nice grassy field somewhere for a little nap. It's like a cot for your upper engine area, okay? No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, they're crash bars. Time will tell what their performance is. It's a matter of time, I'm sure, before we put these to the test. And when I do, I'll be sure to report back and let you know how they've held up. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this useful. I'll be posting other videos, not just about Triumphs, but about motorcycling and adventuring in general. I'm Lowside P&W. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next one.